Hello there. Today we are going to rebuild a Vapresso cross pod, XROS, XROS, however you want to pronounce it. So I've already cleaned this one up, so all I need to do is take it back apart. I did that so I could show you, but I've already cleaned it up, so that step's done. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stick this tool that I got in that kit from AliExpress, and you could make something like that. So you really, as far as the tools are concerned, you don't need that. When you make an order from AliExpress, what you will get is this here, and then a rivet. I think the other rivet, the one that came in that kit, is a little bigger than that one, if I'm not mistaken. However, this will not work on the new style pod systems. I don't know when they changed, if that changed with the CoreX 2.0 or what, but that is no longer useful. And this is the only tool here that I use out of that kit. So pretty simple. You stick it in, and sometimes you'll stick it in and it won't come loose. Now, if I were to go the other way, it may not come loose. Yeah, so sometimes if it's fighting you, just turn it around and try it the other way and it will come apart. So that's how you get them apart. Pretty simple, pretty straightforward. You got a little belt round thing down in there. So you want to make sure when you clean it, you want to make sure that you clean that good, get that all cleared out. So we're going to take the cap off here. Not much to see with that, it's just the cap. And then what I do, I just grab whatever. I can actually just use this thing just to kind of grab the edge of that metal tube there, and I just push it downward. That's all I do. And sometimes it'll pull it all down, or other times, like you see there, it will start to just pull it out of that rubber piece. So we're just going to grab it and pull it on out. Not a big deal. So there you go. There's your tank housing. And then this, we're just going to take off the top side just like that. And then right here, I don't know the deal on this coil I got in here. If it's a new coil and I can reuse it, would rather reuse it. We will see. Let me go ahead and I'm going to grab my tweezers here, and bear with me because it's hard to. I'm working further away from me than I normally would, and it's bad enough at how small these are. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to straighten these wires out. And you may be able to reuse your coils and you may not. The more you do it, the better you'll get at it, and the better you'll get at rebending these wires so that you can reuse it. So that's what I'm working on now. I'm going to try to straighten that one up a little bit. That one's pretty straight. Let me try on this one. Just trying to get a little closer to where it's supposed to be. And again, I may not even be able to reuse it, but I'm going to try. Okay, so I've got that done. I'm going to take my tweezers, since I've got them in my hand. I'm going to grab that little rubber piece and just pull it off the end there. You see that? There's up underneath the bottom of that coil. So let me get the rubber piece set down here. Now, the one piece I had showed you, the one tool that I had showed you, initially what it was is you could stick this down in there and it would grab a hold of it, the very edge of that. There's a real tiny lip there, but with this style you can't get that in there, so that will not work. So what I simply do, they're not super tight, so I just grab a pair of pliers, and you don't have to, and I wouldn't squeeze down like it's the end of the world or nothing. Just get a hold of it and wiggle it back and forth, and you'll feel it loosen. If you'll see, there's a little bit of a space there now, and so it's loosened. So I'm just going to pull it straight out, just like that. Okay? And I'm going to unwrap this cotton on the outside. I'm pretty positive I have rebuilt this one. I'm going to go ahead and pull it all out. We're just going to pull it all out there, and I'm going to try to uncurl this and see if we can by chance reuse it. And I will explain about the different cotton, because they clearly have two different types of cotton in them, and I will explain that and explain why they did it that way, and you have to do it that way. I do believe that is what was causing me my issues with my dry hits. That coil is pretty mangled, so I'm not even going to attempt with that. I figured I would try. So we have more coils here somewhere. I had them sitting right there, and so we're just going to use a new coil with it as soon as I can find them, unless I did put them back in the package. Didn't think I did, but no, and I didn't. So there should be a little baggie up here with coils. Aha! The little baggie fell down there. So let me sneak one of these coils out of here. And these here are, I don't know if they're 6 by 6 millimeter or 7 by 7 millimeter, or maybe 7 by 6 millimeter, I don't know. But just stay 7 millimeter, stay 7 millimeter or below when you're doing these. And they're rated at 0.8 ohms, these particular coils. And I'll tell you this now before we go to the next step. The very last thing that you want to do before you start this particular process right here is to wash your hands, and wash them good with soap and water. And the reason why is because even if you've got a little bit of oil on your fingers, you will put it on the cotton and you'll have a nasty taste for a little while. A lot of times it'll last half a day or so before you get rid of that nasty taste, and you can fix that just by washing your hands before you mess with the coil. So I'm going to separate out. We're going to need 5 layers, and that's what I'm doing. I'm separating out 5 layers of cotton. At least I believe I am. There are only 5 layers on these. When you order from China, like AliExpress, you can order it. There's like 6 layer, and there's 5 layer, there's 7 layer, there's, you know, so it depends on what you're ordering. I don't know that there's another layer there. It kind of feels like there's 2 layers. They can be a little tricky to get apart. There may only be 1 layer there. 1 layer there. 1 layer there. 1 layer there. So see, that's 4 layers. I do need to get a 5th layer out here. Not a problem. And yes, I mean, you won't use the whole thing, so like your short pieces and stuff, you can most certainly reuse those. That is not an issue at all, but that looks kind of dirty. So I'm going to grab a different piece here. To get our 5th layer. There we go. Put these back in and get this out of the way. This was the rivet that came in that one kit. It's substantially bigger than the one I showed you a minute ago. Then everything's sticking together because of magnets. Substantially bigger than that one. So I don't use neither. I use a 2.5 millimeter jig from Coil Master. This is what I would normally wrap coils with. Not necessarily 2.5 millimeter, but this is the tool I use. And you can use, by the way, you don't have to go buy a specific coil jig. You can use anything, any kind of rod that would be 2.5 millimeter, and that includes even, you know, mini screwdrivers, precision screwdrivers. If you've got one that's 2.5 millimeter, you're fine using it. So, got my coil jig there, got our coil here, got our 5 layers, and we're going to go ahead and stack these layers. We want to get them ready to go, so that way we don't have to mess with them. We just pick them up and go. So we're going to get them all stacked and aligned. Just like that. Get it as best as you can. Now if you order your cotton and you specifically order 5 layer cotton, then you don't have to worry. Then it's just a matter of grabbing a bundle of cotton, or whatever you want to call it, a stack of cotton out of there, and using it. It's not a big deal. So let me set this off to the side. I don't want to mess those up. And this is gauze pad that actually my neighbor had given me for me to check out to see how well it would do. And let me cut a little bit of this, and I want to talk to you about why this is so important, because this is like hugely important. This is what was holding me up as far as being able to successfully build. Because what I was doing is that outer layer was a different cotton, and on the one video I shot prior, I showed that it's a different cotton. There's a reason for that. Let me explain that now. So this cotton here, it's like a very fibrous cotton. It's not fluffy, it's not thick, it's not nothing. So the ability for this to retain any amount of juice is not really there. It's more or less something that just kind of transfers over to the coil, and at the same time, you know, you got to have something for the heat. So it's essentially just kind of like transfer cotton, if you will. This will be the outside wrap, and I'll show you that. It will be the absolute outside wrap. And the reason why it's a different cotton, it's a little thicker, it's more absorbent, sorry. So this is going to essentially, as far as the coil is concerned, this is going to be kind of like your reservoir, okay? And your reservoir is going to transfer the fluid over to this, which we'll call this transfer cotton, and then up against the coil to where you get your vape. So that is what the issue was. So let's get to rebuilding. So what I'm going to do is, first off, I'm going to make sure the legs on this coil, they, you know, they're wire welded on one side. And so that wire welded bit, I'm actually going to put to the inside. I don't want that up against my cotton. And the reason why is because I want as much clean surface area of cotton against this as I can possibly get. And this is really kind of a pain in the butt to work with because they're so tiny. And so I just kind of get it on there. And hopefully you can see how I'm doing this. I just get it on there and I just start to wrap it. That's all I do. I just get it up on there and start to wrap it. And then I just keep my finger there, because otherwise it's going to want to come loose. And then I just grab my stack of cotton. And I'm just going to replace my finger, or try to. Let me grab this from the front with that cotton. See that? Just going to put that cotton there, and we can kind of straighten it back up once we get it at least there to hold that coil onto that jig. Trying not to bend our wires too much, because anything that we kind of mess up, it's just going to be a more of a nightmare later to deal with. So you want to try to keep things straight. You want to try to keep things as even as possible. And I know my fat fingers is bending that one piece down, but it's okay. That is okay. So then what I do is, once we get it to this point here, I grab it and I pinch real tight with my fingers right there, okay? And then we're going to take this piece here, and we're going to, you got to be careful of your legs there. And we're just going to slide it on over, just like that. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to work this down. I'm going to get it up in there, and I'm going to work that housing down over the cotton. You may have to fiddle with it. It will be a little snug. Once you get it though, it should slide down like that, okay? Try to go a little bit further like that. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to slide this jig not all the way out, but just like that. And the reason why is because I need to do two things. I need to cut the excess off, and I also need to put this stupid little rubber thing over those wires. And it's best if it's held like that. So let's go ahead and get rid of our excess cotton, get it out of the way so it's not flopping all around. There we go. Got rid of the excess cotton there. Might try to trim that up just a hair more if we can get to it. Not really. Not a big deal. So then this is the fun part, because there's two little bitty holes. Oop, I need to come back towards me. There's two little bitty holes in there. It's actually a good thing, because this thing is really hard to see. If you notice, I'm resting this hand on the table like this, right? I'm doing the same with the other one, resting the other hand. And I'm going to take my finger and lay under this. The reason I'm doing that is because that steadies me so that I can get it to line up with those holes a little bit better. I think I got it. I think. Yep, I did. So we're going to go ahead and push that down like that. Okay. And then what we need to do is we need to get our outer layer ready, which I'm going to have to trim that up a little bit. We're going to set that down. Grab my skizzers. And we're just going to try to cut straight, which is not one of my strong points. I am not a straight cutter. Okay. And then this just gets one wrap around the outside piece. So I'm essentially going to size it up real quick. I got a little hair in there. You don't want that. That would not be a good flavor. And so right about there. So I'm going to just cut it right about here. Okay. Get all this cotton out of the way here. And we're just going to take, we're just going to place it around there, kind of staying towards the top a little bit. I'm giving myself space down at the bottom because as we put this outer housing on, it's going to want to push that down a little. So I'm going to keep it up a little bit from the bottom, like that. Now we're going to pull it off the coil jig. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to grab the outer housing and I'm going to start it on there and I'm going to twist in the way that I've got the cotton going. Okay, see that? Nice and easy. And then there's going to be a flat spot, and I feel a flat spot right here with my finger, and you want that flat spot lined up with a hole. So it's lined up with a hole. I'm just going to set this down, take my fingers, give it a little push, and you can feel it kick in place. Yes, there's a little cotton that's stuck under the bottom of there, but that's not going to hurt nothing. That's not going to hurt nothing. And so now what we do is we've got to put this piece back on here. So we just set it on like that. And I always make sure that the legs to the coil are kind of centered in between the two like you see there. Let me give you kind of a side view there. Okay. And then what we're going to do is we're going to bend this one this way like that. And we're going to bend that one that way like that. And then what I'm going to do, I'm going to take my wire nippers here. And I'm going to go, the way I'm measuring this is I'm literally just laying this up against the outside of that rubber piece, because that's actually going to have to get bent to go down in there. So I'm going to set it right there. Hopefully you can see that. And I'm going to snip. Okay. Going to come over to the other side. Use that for my length. Snip. And there we go. We got the leg snipped. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab it like this. I'm going to take my ceramic tweezers and I'm going to bend that just so it will go down into that hole. Just like that. See that? Spin it around. Do the same thing for the other side. Got that one a little off, but we'll make her work. Like I say, I normally am working a lot closer to myself, so bear with me. I think I got it in there. Maybe not. Close. And it's hard for me to angle it to where you can see it and I can see it at the same time, so my apologies for that. But you see, I just got them bent and pushed down into those holes. That's all. I'm going to make sure this is lined up like it's supposed to be. Here is your bottom piece with the magnets that sticks to everything you get in here. So you want to make sure that's clean, dry, everything. And those pins that you see there, those pins are going to be what goes up into those holes. Those are what makes contact to the coil. So you just kind of put it on there as straight as possible. Just put it on there as straight as possible like that. And I grab it like this and I push down. There you go. Now those pins are in place, right? So now that we got that, we can grab our outer housing here. Let me get these out of the way. I always make sure I'm careful with those things, because if you get one in the carpet or whatever, that could wind up in somebody's foot, and that is not good. So you just take this and you start it down in there. You get it as straight as you can, get her started. And then what I always do, see if it's going to be hard for me to get this because my fingers, but I hold a little bit here, and the reason why is because there's 2 tabs on the sides, and it never fails. It wants to slip, it wants to pop down, and one of those tabs would be on the outside of the groove where it goes. So, but that's not the case there. That went in there fine. And that is a rebuilt coil, ladies and gentlemen. I do happen to have a little bit of my homemade version of Sherb here, which is Sherbet ice cream vape. It's really, really good. This is my version. It doesn't taste like Jimmy the Juice Man Sherb, but that is what it is. Now I'm going to drop some drops down in the top there, okay, before I fill it, to help prime it. So that's to help prime it, and then I'm going to come in here. I'm going to fill up the tank. Just like that. And of course I was real smart to bring something over to wipe my hands with, so not. So there is your coil. Let me, okay, so what I'm going to do, this is my mod. Stick it in there. First of all, there's nothing showing up as in like any issues with the coil short or anything like that, so that looks good. We're going to try to take a drag off it. That's what I'm talking about. I know, I suck at that, but there you go. Your Vapresso cross pod rebuild. So on the interwebs, I've only found a couple of videos of people doing this, and they're not super good videos, and they're definitely not well detailed. So I fought with it, and the reason I fought with it is because I wasn't putting a different type of gauze on the outside, a gauze that was more absorbent to be able to help transfer the e-juice over to the fibrous kind of cotton that's on the inside of that coil. So that's how you do it. It's really that simple folks, and hopefully I help somebody rebuild these. I won't use a mod or a vaping device or anything that I cannot rebuild the pods for or whatever, because I'm that way. I'm cheap, but more than anything I want to be self-sufficient, and as long as I have coils, and as long as I have that stupid fiber cotton stuff, and by the way, you can use, I mean, this is trash here, but this is good right here for your next coil. So you don't have to throw away that whole piece. You only need a little bit of it. So that would be good for another coil. So just remember, 7mm or under for the coils for these pods. 7mm or under. I'm off camera there, sorry. For these pods. If you go with bigger, because I do have bigger, if you go with bigger, the coil will wrap around and the legs will touch themselves. So 7mm or below, and then choose whatever is your preference. 0.8, 0.6 is how I like to roll. So these are 0.8s that I bought. When I order the bulk from China, that'll probably be 0.6, but we'll see. I may order 0.8s. Either way, it doesn't bother me either way. They're both about the same. So anyway, hopefully I could help you rebuild your cross pod, and I hope you all have a wonderful and blessed day. Shalom.